All right, welcome back. We're digging into a really powerful submission today. It's a critique of Megyn Kelly, arguing she's choosing massive audiences, people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, over her integrity.
And it draws a really sharp contrast with figures like Michael Moynihan and the Fifth Column guys.
Exactly. So our goal here is to jump right in and help maximize the logical firepower of this piece because it's already got this incredible critical energy.
Okay, where should we start?
So let's start with the language. I think the overall persuasive authority of this critique really, it hinges on how it strategically manages its use of some highly inflammatory language.
Okay.
I mean, the author's passion is it's completely unmistakable. The piece uses these really visceral labels. Words like dingbat, insane liar, stupid claims.
Right. They're all over the place.
They are. And while it definitely conveys this intense disdain, I do worry that, the sheer volume of it risks making the whole thing feel like an emotional attack.
Instead of the intellectually grounded takedown that it's so close to being.
Exactly that. It's so close.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's almost like the author is trying to demonstrate a pattern of moral and logical absurdity, which is the goal. But when you lead with the insult, the reader immediately goes on defense, right? Or they just agree with you. They're not actually absorbing the evidence you're presenting.
But I wonder, if we tell them to pull back, are we risking dulling that passionate voice? That's kind of the engine of the whole submission. If they don't call it stupid, are we muffling their intent?
See, I don't think it's about not at all. It's about focusing the intent.
Okay.
The suggestion here is to maybe reserve that strongest, most condemnatory language for summarizing the consequences of what someone did. You let the reader get to dingbat on their own.
Oh.
You just present the facts, and then that conclusion feels inevitable. It strengthens the whole logical impact.
Okay, I see. It's about letting the facts do the heavy lifting, so when that strong label finally drops, it feels completely earned.
Exactly. So look at the examples. Instead of just calling Kelly a dingbat outright, you could focus on describing her action. Her choice not to take a clear side in that Candace Owens, Erica Kirk thing.
Right.
You could call that decision a moral and logical absurdity. Or even better, a calculated rhetorical surrender.
Oh, calculated rhetorical surrender. I really like that. That's good. It moves the focus from who she is to what she chose to do for strategic gain.
Precisely, which is the entire thesis.
It sounds like analysis, not just an accusation.
It is. And same thing with that gaslighting at its finest claim about Ben Shapiro. Instead of just saying that, you could first detail the actual intellectual dishonesty. You walk the reader through the steps they took to distort things.
And then the label ridiculous or gaslighting becomes the punchline, not the setup.
Yes, it becomes the verdict after you've presented the case.
And the material already has this incredible weapon just sitting there.
It really does. I'm talking about that quote, the side of the widow with 2 children whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us.
Yeah, that's a powerful line.
It's a huge emotional high point, and the author should just use that. Contrast that incredible moral weight directly with Kelly's, neutral stand. Let the gravity of that choice speak for itself. It's louder than any insult.
That's the kind of shift that turns a really passionate rant into a professional, compelling critique. It's about focusing the fire.
Absolutely. Focus the firepower.
Okay, so if we zoom out from the language, that actually brings us pretty neatly to the structure of the piece itself.
Right.
Because right now, the material has 4 really strong, distinct arguments. You've got the Fifth Column, the Candace Owens defense, the whole Tucker Shapiro-Maduro thing, and the Israel obsession projection. But they feel a little diffuse.
They do feel a bit scattered, yeah. The core theme is definitely there, that trade-off between integrity and clicks. But the narrative just kind of jumps between these different examples. It goes from the Fifth Column guys to the Owens drama to this really complex Shapiro exchange. And the core chart that Kelly is choosing the woke Reich for clicks, it feels less unified than it could.
Yeah, the reader has to work a bit too hard to connect the dots. Like, why does Kelly cutting off Michael Moynihan in one segment relate to her defending Candace Owens in another? The author knows why.
Of course.
They both serve the same function, protecting that high-view coalition. But the piece needs to scream that connection.
We need a structural rope, to tie all these powerful moments together. And building on that, what if we unified all of them under a single, really clear thesis right at the start?
Like what?
Something aggressive and clear, like the calculated pursuit of clicks dismantles character.
I like that. That puts the burden of proof immediately on the evidence that follows.
Precise. Then the material can just transition seamlessly between the examples, each incident Moynihan getting cut off, hosting who she hosts, misrepresenting Shapiro. It's not a separate complaint anymore.
It's a data point.
It's an undeniable data point supporting that one main assertion. And it stops feeling like a list. It feels like an accumulation of evidence.
So a bit of reorganization is key here. Start with the core charge, that Kelly knows where the clicks are and is going after them. Set up that framework right away.
Yes, absolutely. And then you could use that interaction between Moynihan and Kelly where she kept cutting him off. Use that as Exhibit A.
Exhibit A of the cost of integrity paid for an audience.
Exactly. It sets the tension perfectly. And then you can use that to contrast with the fifth column's choice. It's a perfect entry point.
And then from there, you could transition into the more complex stuff. Use the segment on Tucker and Kelly spinning Shapiro to introduce Israel as Exhibit B.
Right.
And that shows the intellectual dishonesty required to keep that coalition happy.
That structural shift is crucial. But here's the real key. The structure only gets tight if you explicitly link back to the main thesis after every single example.
Oh, that's good.
After Exhibit A, you say, this proves she'll sacrifice editorial responsibility for her audience. After Exhibit B, this misrepresentation shows the dishonesty needed to maintain the coalition.
You need to make sure the evidence directly supports that specific, cynical claim every single time. That repetition through evidence is what drives it home.
A unified structure, just. It minimizes reader distraction. It means they spend zero energy trying to figure out why you're telling them this story, and all their energy feeling the weight of the evidence itself.
Okay, let's move on to the third strategic point. And this is probably the most dramatic claim in the whole piece. The accusation that Kelly and Tucker are the ones who are truly obsessed with Israel to the point of loathing them, and that they're projecting that onto Shapiro. That requires some really clear articulation to withstand skepticism.
That is a massive claim. And because you're assigning intent, it needs an absolutely bulletproof defense.
Right.
The material makes a strong case. It highlights that moment Tucker brings Israel into the Shapiro-Venezuela discussion.
When Ben allegedly did not mention Israel once.
Exact. The piece says this is absurd and it's projection, but the exact mechanism of that projection, how it actually works to undermine Shapiro, that could be much sharper.
I agree. The skepticism threshold is just so high here. I mean, could the evidence support a less malicious conclusion? Is the link between the intent, loathing Israel, and the action, mentioning Israel, is that link fully established?
That's the gap we have to close.
Yeah, or the whole thing could be dismissed as just, political score settling.
So to bolster it, I think we need to focus less on just asserting it and more on dissecting the rhetorical deflection that they're using. Instead of just saying they're obsessed, detail how injecting the Israel angle distracts from the core moral critique.
Right, focusing on the rhetorical necessity. They needed a distraction. Shapiro had painted them into a moral corner over the Erica Kirk tragedy in Maduro. So by injecting Israel, they turn it from this difficult moral issue into a political spat.
That's the real leverage point. You expose the necessity of their move. We have to articulate the logical function of that deflection. Kelly and Tucker are trying to reframe Shapiro's moral standing by shifting the focus to this alleged fixation on foreign policy.
And that is key. It becomes an ad hominem attack disguised as a substantive critique. They're basically saying, don't listen to his argument, he's just obsessed with X.
Exactly. So you focus on the sequence. Shapiro critiques Maduro and Owens. Kelly and Tucker claim he's obsessed with Israel. Then the material needs to dissect how that functions as an ad hominem designed to dismiss that original, very uncomfortable moral argument about Erica Kirk's side.
Right. And that elevates the piece. It's not just partisan finger-pointing, it's a critique of rhetorical malpractice.
And the ultimate piece of evidence here is the absence of Israel in Shapiro's original statement.
Yes, we should emphasize that. That absence is the most damning piece of evidence because it forces Kelly and Tucker to literally invent the connection. It makes the critique about their rhetorical necessity, not just their personal feeling.
That is so much harder to dismiss. It shows their whole argument is built on a falsehood that they manufactured for strategic effect. And that added layer of analysis turns a powerful observation into an undeniable structural critique of their choices. That's where the logical authority of this whole submission will really be maximized. If they invented the premise, their argument just collapses.
This is really powerful work. We've covered 3 major strategic areas here, all aimed at boosting that logical authority while keeping the author's really sharp voice.
Okay, time to synthesize and give the listener some clear marching orders.
First, refine the tone. Strategically reserve those potent inflammatory labels for describing the consequences of the actions. Let the evidence build the intensity for you.
Second, strengthen the structure. Unify all those examples under one clear primary thesis, the pursuit of clicks versus integrity, and make sure every transition reinforces that single point.
And finally, bolster that huge claim about the Israel obsession projection. Do it by specifically dissecting the logical deflection they used. Prove the rhetorical necessity of their distraction.
This is a remarkable submission. It has a really clear, passionate voice and just a deep expertise in the topic. We are genuinely excited to see how these adjustments sharpen your argument and maximize its authority.
Definitely. So we invite you to implement these revisions and please submit your work back in for a follow-up critique when you're ready.